What's going on, everybody? It is Lorne here for the FAF Free As Fuck Podcast, Episode 8 with Marshall Holmes. Look, I put in my thumbnail, Marshall reacts to Tom McDonald's Snowflakes. Some of you thought it was Eminem. It is actually, in fact, Eminem. This is Marshall Mathers. This is pre-editing, you know. There's no filters on this one. This is not Snapchat Marshall Mathers right here. So, you know. Look, man, not everything you see in tabloids is real. But we're going to kick it off, man. It is Wednesday, June 30th, and it's the end of the month, man. We are coming up on 4th of July weekend. Nothing could say free as fuck more than 4th of July.
Damn right.
So we're excited about that. We're excited to have a nice holiday weekend and finally forget the shit show of a month that June probably was. And nothing says free as fuck like letting Bill Cosby out of jail.
Holy fuck. Holy fuck. How did that happen?
Put the mic closer to your face.
Move
your mic a little bit. Move your mic closer to you.
Oh, closer to
Yeah, there you go.
Right here?
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
How did that happen?
How the fuck did that happen? That's insane.
It's crazy.
That's insane.
I saw someone post it on one of the stock channels, and it was like, "Oh, Cosby'd out there to the moon." I was like,
I didn't even know it was a possibility. I figure he's appealing. Because he's got money, so he's going to appeal to the bitter end. But did you read what happened? I mean, do you understand the legal things that happened?
I was reading through it, and I
have a very thorough understanding of what
do
happened.
you? Because I just skimmed over, and I was like, what in the?
Yeah, it's fucking crazy.
How does this happen?
Well, here's what happened. Initially, when the case was brought forward, they didn't feel they had a strong case. Back then you got to realize that at that time when the case was being brought forward by this woman, he was Bill Cosby, Bill Cosby before all this shit came to the surface.
Right.
And so the prosecutors were like, well, this is Bill Cosby. I don't really think he did anything, but she brought a civil case at the same time. And they wanted him to have to testify in the civil case. The prosecutors did. So they made a deal with him that they would not prosecute him for the rape. They would dismiss those charges and not indict him so that he had to testify in her civil case.
Really?
And they wanted him to tell the truth. And the deal was if he told the truth in his civil case testimony, that they would not prosecute him for the rape.
Okay.
And because they didn't think they could convict him, so they thought, well, we're at least going to get him to tell the truth on record.
That's so crazy.
And then if he tells the truth on record, this woman will get a settlement out of this civil case.
Okay.
So then fast forward 10 years, 15 years later, a Philadelphia comic goes on stage and says, by the way, Bill Cosby's a rapist.
Right. I remember seeing that story.
So from that blew up into all of the women coming forward, and I believe it was somewhere between 20 and 30 women.
It was a lot.
It was a lot. They took a picture
lot
of the group of them and put it on the front cover of one of those ladies,
and
like
then
Vogue or
not
whatever.
only was it a lot of women, but there was also just a lot of talk amongst just like people who knew him on how creepy he constantly was, and how everyone talked about it, and everyone pretty much knew, and no one did anything.
Right.
And that's the craziest part.
That's insane.
It wasn't even like, oh, yeah, that seems like he may have. They were like, no, he definitely did that to all those people.
And he had admitted to it at that point. Like he had testified in the civil case. They had it on record. Wow. He was like, yeah, this is what I did. This is how I did it. I went about it. I understood what I was doing. I knew that if I could get a woman alone, I could get drugs in her, I could have sex with her. And I did it on a regular basis. And he admitted it. But what happened was the new prosecutor, 10 years later, right 2 days before the statute of limitations was about to run out, he filed charges against him in that case based on the testimony that he had given in that civil case. So that's what the charges were based on, the testimony that he gave.
That kind of negated the deal.
So the Supreme Court today saw the whole series of events, and they were like, he was given immunity, he was promised not to be prosecuted by a different prosecuting attorney.
Right.
And then the other guy came along Of course, it had picked up momentum at that time. There were a lot of women coming forward. All of the other cases, the statutes of limitations had run out. All of the other cases. So this was the last one. There were 2 days left until the statute of limitations ran out on this. And the guy was like, fuck it, I'm going to file it. They filed it. They prosecuted him once. They got a hung jury. They prosecuted him a second time. He got convicted, and 3 to 10 years. He's been in for 2.5.
Right.
And he just got out. His behavior was not leading towards parole at all. He was refusing all treatment. He wouldn't admit to anything. He was sitting in prison and denying that he had done anything wrong and was not atoning himself at all. And so they were, he was going to have to ride out his sentence. He wasn't getting out early.
That's so wild. And right there, the article says, more than 60 women came forward.
A shitload of women.
Dude, look, it's not like 4 women 30 years ago.
Right.
That's like 2 football teams of women.
Yeah.
That came out, and he's like, yeah, I did that shit.
It's insane what a beloved figure he was prior to that.
Oh my God.
I mean, now obviously anyone who's heard about him now knows him for what he's famous for now.
Right.
But at that time, he was Jell-O pudding. He was Coca-Cola. He was Cliff Huxtable. He was Fat Howard. He was all of the characters and voices and things that he did. He was as pure and innocent and as he was referred to as America's dad.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
I mean, and I think of the fall of some of the best people that were alive in my lifetime, the people that I admired most. The only person I could think of that would have a similar fall would be if Michael Jordan was somehow to, come across as that. But that's as bad of a thing as you can do and be, what he was doing. And I think it's, it's just crazy. I watched the fall of Lance Armstrong, and I think to me that
Lance was pretty rough. I mean, granted, Lance Armstrong was an interesting athlete because he was a cyclist, and people around here were just like, just ride a bike. But at the same time, then he
won
had the
the
cancer
Tour de
thing.
France 7 fucking times in a row.
I get that, but we're in America. No one cares.
They cared at that time.
At that time.
For that brief period while he was winning it, we were like, we got an American that's going over there and winning your biggest event. And we loved it. We loved making
one
that
guy.
brag.
There's one dude in America that wants to ride his bike, not in the bike lane and hold up traffic.
Man.
He wants to go the fuck over there, and we want him to go there.
And he had beaten cancer, and they were accusing him of all these things. He was coming up. He was testing.
Can you remember a time prior to Lance Armstrong where anyone wore a rubber bracelet for any fucking thing?
No.
They sold a bazillion rubber bracelets.
No, he but the thing is, you look back on that, and at the time, there were people that were saying you're committing the biggest fraud in the history of the country, and people don't realize it. And he would be like, "Who the do you think you are talking to me that way?" He would be in news conferences, and people would say, "I know you are guilty. I can't prove it yet, but I know you are." And he was, man, if you listen to the stories of what they had to do to transfuse their blood and ship out their bad blood and putting good blood in their body to get the test and then put the bad blood back in. I mean, it was fucking nuts what these guys
that's just like what China does in the Olympics. They just like...
Yeah, but he's under a microscope, man. And they're fucking... And he's like in trains, moving trains, like doing blood transfusions and shit to fucking get away with this. And I'm all along, I don't give a fuck about cycling. I don't know one other person that rides a bike besides that guy. He's the only one I fucking know. Guy. And I was like, this guy's fucking amazing. I was so proud of him. I was like, this American is going over to fucking France. Their biggest thing is this bike race. And he's fucking winning it again and again. They're accusing him of all this shit. And in my mind, I think steroids. I'm taking a big. I'm like, you can look at him. He doesn't look like he's on steroids.
Like let's just say you ride a bike, and let's just say you come get a couple shots. How much better are you at riding that bike?
Well, here's what he was doing. He was putting things in his blood. See, that bike race goes through high altitudes.
Right.
And he was putting things in his blood that made it so that he could function better physically at high altitudes than the people he was riding against. So when the race would start out, it was a huge difference.
Huge
difference? It allowed him to win it 7 times in a row. He would not.
Yeah, but like, where was second place? How far away was that guy?
Way away. Way away. There was nobody close. What would happen is, honestly, they'd hit the part of the race where they'd be going uphill for miles. And he would just he would take off
and just smoke them.
And nobody could even. And they'd say every year, they go, okay, well he's not even ahead right now. He's like in third place. But we all know what's going to happen when he hits the altitude part. He's going to take off, and he did every year. And that was the part that he was putting something in his blood, not typical steroids, not like pumped up Arnold Schwarzenegger steroids, but steroids that allowed him to ride his bike and have more cardiovascular benefit than, and he was smoking them. I mean, he would, you know, the pack is pretty thick when you're talking about world-class athletes.
There was a bunch of cyclists in there for sure.
And then he'd be gone, and they couldn't keep up with him.
Huh.
And they're like that. And the thing is, they're all taking steroids too. They're all doing it. And they're looking at him, and they're like, I'm taking steroids, and this guy's smoking me. He's got to be taking them also.
That's so crazy.
And he wasn't getting caught. He was getting away with it. And then when he retired, they were like, well, that's it. He's retired. They're never going to catch him now because he's done.
Yeah.
But they did. And ultimately, he ended up having to admit it because he was going to be, and he's being sued by all the companies that gave him money. I mean, the fucking post office gave him like $250 million.
What? No.
Yeah, his bike team was sponsored by the U.S. Post Office.
Really?
Yeah, no shit, man. They gave him money based on the fact that they thought he was doing this shit legitimately.
He says he once faced a $100 million lawsuit from the U.S. federal government. Ripped 7 to France. Armstrong was also sued by the U.S. government for $100 million in 2013. That's so crazy.
Yeah, it's fucking nuts. It was sad, man. I was upset. I was like, I believed in this guy.
Dude, imagine opening a letter saying you're being sued by the government for $100 million.
I mean, I think based on what he did and the people he deceived, one of the worst criminals in American history.
First of all,
he didn't go to jail either.
No, he didn't go to jail. The Postal Service has operated in a deficit for a long time.
Right.
How mad should we be that they spent $33 million on one guy to ride a bike?
Fucking mad.
And not only did he ride a bike, he didn't deliver any mail.
Right.
Look, man.
He did.
Look, Paperboy was out. Just give them fucker some papers, man.
I mean,
shit.
That
was the game. He was the fastest in the Paperboy game.
He's the fastest Paperboy.
Shit, $32 million. That motherfucker should deliver some mail.
More than that, but
it says $32.3 million paid. That's a lot.
Nowadays they get like. I always think everybody's getting $300 million.
Says it settled for $6.65 million. Yeah. The federal government only received $5 million in the suit, so he paid him back $5 million. I mean.
And that's not all that he made. I mean, that was one sponsor of many. I mean, he had all kinds of people that were behind him.
That's so
and he had all kinds of people accusing him of shit. And he got away with it all the time. He got away with this for years. And, I hated to see him fall. I was proud of the fact that he was winning that race again and again.
Right.
And, the cancer, the whole thing, man. I just thought it was amazing. And now, he's living in Austin, Texas. He does a podcast, and so that's where he is. That was the fall. But there's been a lot of them. There have been some guys that you think
are untouchable.
They
have
great image.
Well,
I mean, I'll be honest. I'm a piece of shit. There's nothing. Nobody would be surprised about anything they hear about me. They're like, that's exactly what I expect. That's exactly what I expect. But for guys like that, people look up to them, and they're
Oh man, that's wild.
I'm
having a technical difficulty. Hold on. So
right.
My camera's kind of it's having a technical issue on the GoPro or something. But yours is fine. It's just mine that's acting up for no reason.
That's surprising.
I know, right?
I would think I'd be breaking the camera. I'm always surprised. I'm always surprised that a camera can stay on me without.
I mean, the screen's getting worse every time I look.
Right. Not an attractive guy.
I don't know what's happening with my plug-in. I'm trying to sort through this for some reason. I see it on one end, but not on the other. Oh, I know what it is. It's because I got this up probably. Sometimes it doesn't like it when I have both of them up, so I might just have to come back to this and let this thing run. Yeah, whatever works. But that's all gravy.
So
I'm not worried about that.
And not only is he out, but the ruling by the court said that he is not allowed to be prosecuted again they are not allowed to retry him no matter what. So he's out. That's free.
Wild.
He's 83. He's, from what I understand, he's blind, and I don't know. Is he bookable? Is some comedy club out there gonna fucking let him get up on stage and?
I don't know.
I mean, can you imagine the heckles? I mean, he's gonna have to deal. I don't see him. Felicia Rashad, who was his wife in that show, said that this was justice for him to get out. She felt like it was. I don't know. I mean, he knows what he did. He testified to it. He doesn't think that was a crime. In his mind, drugging women and then raping them while they're under the
Well, that's not Lance Armstrong, but yeah. You're talking about, we circle back to Bill Cosby. Honest there. I was still thinking Lance Armstrong. I'm like, wait a second. It's got real dark.
No. Drugging women, Bill Cosby. They can't prosecute him. He's out. He's free.
That's absolutely